Today, a really special treat. I have an almost nonagenarian to introduce you to. She's not quite 90, but almost. Hi, I'm Judy Shearwaters. Welcome to my channel. Here I bring you author interviews of ordinary people who had a story they needed to share with the world. I also bring you short little writing prompts so that you can get your creative juices going in your own head so that you can write your stories for your generations to come. Because you know what? You have a story to tell, so let me help you tell it. As I said, we have an almost nonagenarian to visit with today. I met Lucy Dishongh at a book signing held at Discovery Village where she lives. Discovery Village in San Antonio is an independent and assisted living facility. Lucy's been there, I think, now 4 years, and she is just a delight to everyone. Um, and just getting to know her is a calmness that would come over you. It comes over me. Her sweetness, her kindness. She's just adorable, as you will see soon. Let me read to you her bio. She wrote Courageous Caregiving. It's a story of her 13 years of caregiving for her husband who had Alzheimer's. Let me read her bio. It says Lucy Dishongh is a writer, poet, teacher, counselor, and nurse. She grew up in a home filled with love, laughter, books, music, art, and the belief that everyone's life matters. She is a mother to 3 outstanding sons and Mimi to 6 amazing grandchildren. She really sounds like a great grandma. And at the time of this writing, she lived in Houston. But now, of course, she lives in San Antonio. Um, and I don't want to take any more time, but to just introduce you to the delightful Lucy Dishongh.
I knew that.
So here is my newfound friend, Lucy Dishongh. Hi, Lucy. I'm so glad that you're here today and you have agreed to be interviewed. So thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It can be a privilege, Judy.
Oh, good, good, good. So I understand, Lucy, that you cared for your husband for 13 years.
Yes.
Tell me about the time that you first heard those words.
I had been suspicious because he'd had a lot of anxiety, but he'd had a quadruple bypass surgery, and so the doctors, the cardiologist, said a lot of that anxiety is coming from that probably. So he had been on Zoloft, and so anyways, but he had 2 older sisters that had Alzheimer's, and so I was very familiar with that. And so when I began to see little glimpses of what maybe that might have been, but we had to go to a new neurologist, and he had all the records and everything. We did another mental health exam, and so I was very nervous that day. I was just anxious to get the results of all of that. So when he got through with that, he came in and he sat us down and he said, I just want to tell you that in my opinion, with everything that I've done, that it's Alzheimer's. And so that was the day that he said it. It was on my 65th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And so I just sat there and he gave us some samples of Aricept and talked to a little bit about that. Then we went out and made another appointment. And so when we went out, I said, why don't I drive home? And he said, okay. And I said, do you want to stop and eat? And he said, no, I just want to go home. So we got home and he was very, very tired, so I fed him just some fruit and whatever. And so anyway, so in a little while, I went in and sat down on the couch beside him and I said, honey, did you understand what the doctor was saying?
That was my next question.
Yeah, did you understand all that he was saying? And he didn't say anything for a little while. He just kind of was quiet. And in a few minutes, he said, yes, I understood.
Okay.
And so I said, and it was funny. It was like the elephant in the room. You know, we had to sort of, you know,
Yeah.
address that.
Sure.
And so he we never said the word Alzheimer's the entire time. And so then it was time for bed, and he went to sleep right away, and I was like awake most of the night,
I'm sure you were.
just
Wow.
going over, thinking about what that entailed, and yeah.
So, I mean, you, like I said, you cared for him, lovingly cared for him.
Oh yeah.
For 13 years.
Because he was precious. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the sweetest man in the world, and he was.
Aw.
And I couldn't leave him. Of course, I just never left him. My son sometimes would stay with him, so I could go to church, and then I would come home, and then he could go to church.
Okay.
But James loved to go, but I got to where I couldn't take him because I know he told this one lady that asked her if she'd always been that pretty, and she was very offended and went to the staff and
Oh dear.
so they said you can't bring him back to church. So I thought that's not very good, but
No.
but anyway, but I honored that. But
Yeah. Well, I know that you say that you told me earlier that all 13 years was sweetness.
it was.
But was there any one time you can remember that was a real challenge and you just didn't know what to do, where to go? How would you get over it? Can you remember anything like that?
When it got to the point, when it got to the point that I, well, of course I couldn't leave him, but one night I heard I had had an alarm system put in. Just I don't know why. It was a good idea, but anyway, I heard it go off in the night. It said front door open, and I went out. James was standing. I realized he wasn't beside me. He was standing out in the street, and we lived right off of a very busy thoroughfare.
Oh dear. Yeah.
And I said, "Honey, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm going home." And I said, "You are home?" And he said, "No, I'm going to go to my real home." So from then on, he always referred to home as his real home.
Oh.
I knew what he was talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah.
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 And
Oh.
so, but anyway, that was the challenging was that I couldn't keep him safe, maybe.
Sure. So, I know you had, do you have a copy of the book there? Where did we put that?
Okay.
That's okay. We'll get it in a minute. Well, actually, let me go get it. It's right here.
Well, I started to say I have 200 copies up there in my bedroom if you want any of those.
Courageous Caregivers that you can get on Amazon, of course. But prior to writing this, Lucy, had you written anything else?
No,
No.
not really. No, I had written some poetry, but I just journaled. I journaled when James would finally go to sleep, and sometimes in the morning I would get up and I would write what I was feeling,
Okay.
and that's what the book is from. All my journaling.
Did you journal a lot prior to this?
No,
Really?
not really.
Okay.
No.
So your journaling started because out of necessity
Yeah,
to put your feelings
I just
down.
had to write down what I was feeling. Yeah, after he'd
Yeah.
go to sleep, I would just write down because when I wrote the book for caregivers,
Sure.
and I called them. I said, "Beloved caregiver, I said I'm writing this so that you can see that I have experienced what you're going through." And so that was kind of my point was so that other caregivers would know that you can actually survive.
Okay.
And,
That's a huge message
yeah.
that you have through that
Yeah,
book.
and try, yeah.
Yeah. So, what encouraged you? You had this journal, I'm sure, 13 years full of days of, questioning or days of, your feelings down. What made you want to put it in a book, or how did it come about that you ended up putting it in a book?
Well, one day when Don Piper and I had gone to, I think, a funeral at the church, and I ran into him, and he said, "Lucy," he said, I said, I see you, because I lived right behind the church. I said, "I see your light on," and he said, "Yeah, I'm finally writing my story." He said, "Lucy, write your story. It's time to tell your story."
Awesome.
And he said, "It's because you can you can make a huge difference.
Sure.
You know, to those that are facing that same thing. And so he encouraged me to do that. So I started writing from my journaling. I just started off, and I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and then I put the chapters together. It was kind of like, I mean, some people may think it's kind of corny when I said God's provisions, you know, and then I started from A to Z.
Oh, yeah.
So it goes all the way through from angels to Zion.
Oh, that's really
But
neat.
that's kind of how I developed it. I used that outline.
Well, it's providential that you went to church with Don Piper.
Yes,
the author of 90 Minutes in Heaven.
In fact, I knew him really well. In fact, we taught, I taught a class for him that he had started, and so,
That's pretty
saw him all the
cool.
time.
And then he wrote the foreword, or the...
he wrote that,
Yes, for you.
Yeah.
Yes, I read that.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So, how long did it take you to write this book? I know it was 13 years of journaling, but after that, how long did it take you to put it all together?
Well, after James died, I had gone to this, because I'd been writing, as I said, I had the journaling and everything, and I had written chapters, or just pages, hand printed. I hand printed the entire book.
Oh my goodness.
You know, when I was in nursing school, you had to print all the doctor's orders,
sure.
so I could print better than I could write. So I printed the entire book, and I was at a Bible study one morning, and I said something about I was writing a book, and so this lady sitting across from me said, really? And I said, now the problem is trying to find someone to type it for me. She said, I'll do that. She said, I've done books for several of the professors at U of H. So she took, every time I would write, I'd write a bunch and give it to her, and then she'd put it into her computer.
Once again, providential.
It is. It is. In fact, I acknowledge her. I said, no telling how many ink cartridges and reams of paper. But I would give it to her, and she would type it up for me, and then we'd read over it, and then that's how the book came together. I just put it together.
God just put the right people in your path.
It did. It absolutely did. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So again, your audience is caregivers.
Yes.
Especially in the Alzheimer's realm.
Right.
Okay. Well, how did you feel once it was all written out and put in a book form? How did it feel to read it back? To read it. And I know you mentioned that this morning, that you pick it up and you can
When I read it back, even now, and that's been how long?
Yeah.
I read a chapter on comfort today, this morning early, and I cried all the way through it.
Yeah.
Because it brought back the memories the grief that you experience. But if I had not had the Lord there to console me, and I don't know what people do if they don't know, if they don't know the Lord.
Right.
But anyway, that's the thing that sustained me. But reading over it, I'll think I know exactly where I was when I wrote that down. So anyway.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So now what, Lucy? Another book?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm actually working on 2 books right now.
Oh wow.
The one of them is Portraits of Love.
Okay.
I have 18 stories so far about various ones that have demonstrated. For example, I have a niece whose child has Down syndrome, and so I'm telling her story.
Okay.
And then I'm doing another one called Refine to Shine, because that scripture that says we're the light of the world. And I thought, if I'm the light of the world, and if we've been refined to shine, and there's a scripture that says we went through the refiner's fire, where he actually, so Refined to Shine is just a devotional book that I'm working on now.
Oh my goodness.
I'm almost through with that one.
Okay, very good. Wow. And what advice do you have for first-time authors?
Never give up. Just keep writing.
Okay.
Keep writing, keep editing.
Right.
Get someone to read over it for you and that helps a lot.
Sure.
Just don't give up. Just write it down, even if no one ever reads it except you or your children. I actually wrote it, I said, for my children and grandchildren, so they would have a record of that time in my life. And so.
And that's, my audience. I try to encourage them to write their stories down. In fact, I always say, tell your stories, write it down for your generations to come.
For the generation to come. It's our legacy. And I felt like the book is my legacy to my children and grandchildren.
Yeah. You you're such an inspiration, Lucy. You really are. And there are so many people out there who have such a wonderful story, but they don't feel as though they can write it down. So how would you encourage them? What would you say to encourage them to get started?
Just write it like you're writing a letter. I mean, just, or a note to a friend. It doesn't have to be profound. It just has to be honest and relevant.
Yeah.
I think if it's relevant and authentic, I think that's what made it so hard for me, was the authenticity of reliving that and writing it was hard sometimes.
Yes,
but
I'm sure it was.
it's so
I'm sure
important.
it was.
I think,
Yeah. You know, on my YouTube channel, I give a lot of prompts for authors to get started in something. Is there anything that you can think of that would be a good prompt for my audience?
Just carry a little notebook with you, and when you see something that reminds you of something, or is something that's on your heart. I mean, everybody has something that's kind of special, that's dear to them.
Yeah.
Write about it.
That's
Write
right.
about it, yeah.
That's right.
Write your story. Write your story as if you were just writing, like if my grandmother was telling me about her past, like she did. I spent a lot of time with my mama, and she was my encourager. In fact, the chapter on courage is about my grandmother. And but I think just writing something that you might write just like a letter.
Sure. Okay. Very nice, very nice. And it is Christmas time. And do you have any, I didn't ask you about this question, but do you have any favorite Christmas memory that you'd like to share?
Oh goodness, every Christmas, yes. We, of course, when my children were little, we'd go to my parents in Fort Worth, and Mother had a huge tree and this huge living room, and packages would be all the way out as far as you could find, as far as you could see. And my children, I remember the first Christmas tree that James and I had after we got married. Because we got married in November, so we had this apartment that had green carpet in it, and green carpet and a pink couch. So our first Christmas tree was pink.
Oh wow!
The first Christmas was pink, a pink tree. And I think back over it, and I can just see it just as clearly as everything. That tree, we celebrated together, and then of course we went to his parents, and then we went to my parents. So it was always kind of, okay, who do you go see first?
Yeah.
But yeah.
But at that time, I bet that pink tree was the most beautiful thing.
Oh, it was. I was
right?
so excited about it. Everything in my apartment was pink and green. And I mean, who knew? Now everything's blue and white.
Yeah, right.
But those memories together, sharing those kind of things was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, this has been delightful. I'm so glad I can now call you my friend, Lucy.
Well, I tell you what, anyone, I have, as I said, James was so precious right to the very last, and everyone loved him so much. When he died, everybody in the community came to see him one last time.
Oh,
And
that's so sweet.
he didn't suffer. He had congestive heart failure. People ask what kills an Alzheimer's patient, but it's always something else, physical.
Yeah.
But I remember one little lady came in and she said, I have to see him. He's the only one that ever made me feel beautiful, because he told everyone they were beautiful, or have you always been that wonderful, or so anyway.
Sweet.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I have
sweet.
great memories. Yeah.
So for my audience, go to Amazon. It's Courageous Caregivers by Lucy Dishongh. You will be truly blessed. And consider it as a Christmas gift, perhaps right now, for those people who are caring for a loved one going through Alzheimer's or dementia. So anyway, I thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
It's been a really privilege to do this.
I hope you enjoyed our time with Lucy. As I said, she is a delight. She likes to go to the lobby and just meet and greet people as they come in. To know her, to first meet her, makes you feel as though you've known her forever. She has such a kind and sweet spirit. After the interview, I was visiting with her, and her apartment is full of all this beautiful teacups, tea service, And every Saturday morning at 10:30, she teaches a devotion, a Bible study down there at Discovery Village. And she takes all of her teacups, the tea service, and everything. And the people there at Discovery Village really look forward to this time. As I said, she is a delight. At the time of this interview, at the time of my uploading this to my channel, it is Christmas. So if you're seeing this now, please take time to go to Amazon and get her book, Courageous Caregiving. Just a beautiful book inside and out. She wrote this right after the death of her husband. And with Don Piper, if you know Don Piper, he is the author of 90 Minutes in Heaven. And she has a foreword in here by him, who is a friend of hers, has known him for a long time in a church there in Houston where she lived. So pick this up, if not for yourself, but for a friend, a Christmas gift for a friend who you know is going through that struggle, that hard time of caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's, dementia, or maybe even with cancer or some other illness. So it'd be a great Christmas gift. If you enjoy receiving or seeing videos like this, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe to my channel so that you're notified every time I bring out a video like this. So until next time, I'm Judy Sheer Waters. You have a story to tell. Let me help you tell it.